Konnichiwa friends, I am Sekai X Arts and Animation, and today I am doing an art challenge where I design a character based off a randomly generated color palette. This video was supposed to come out about 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately I got a really horrible eye infection and couldn't record my audio because I was in so much pain. But luckily I had a speed paint on hand that I slapped into iMovie, threw some music over, and posted. And after that was Easter weekend, and I really wanted to do something special for that because Easter is a really important holiday to me, so this video ended up getting pushed back a lot, but it's here now. First, I needed to decide an important rule for my challenge. Was I going to completely restrict my color palette to the generated colors, or was I going to just use it as a base? I ended up going with using the colors as a baseline to start with because I felt that if I restricted myself to just the color palette I generated, I couldn't do any proper shading. Maybe one day I'll do a true, only randomly generated color palette challenge, but this is what I went with for now. After I got my randomly generated color palette, I began working on a character design. Now, I pretty much never design a character without at least a little bit of story in mind. I do this so that I can incorporate parts of their backstory into the design. However, now I was starting completely from scratch. Luckily for me, the palette I ended up with started sparking some ideas fairly quickly. You might be able to see where this is going. The color palette, at least for me, really hit mermaid, but I actually decided to go in a little bit more of a unique direction and made her a siren. Even further, I decided to do a little bit of research into the lore of sirens and based her off of the siren Lorelei. Based on my research, I learned that Lorelei is from a German tale of a beautiful young woman who threw herself into the Rhine River after her lover betrayed her. After this, she is transformed into a siren who is bent on luring men to their deaths, so I loosely used this as a base for my siren OC. For example, Lorelei is sometimes considered to be the queen of sirens, so I made my character wear a lot of jewelry and have a regal sort of headdress to signify her as siren nobility. I definitely wanted my character to be pretty because sirens are always described as being alluring. In addition, I gave her a seashell and pearl motif to allude to the siren's association with the sea. I also made her hair a little bit floaty, as if it were suspended in water. What I've named so far, though, can also be applied to just general mermaids, so while I did make her look pretty and make her associated with the ocean, I also wanted her beauty to be kind of eerie, as if something was off. She should look confident and clever, like she knows you're going to fall into her trap, but she should also look a bit sinister and conniving. A lot of people feel pity towards sirens, I think because they really love mermaids, and I would just like to remind everyone that sirens enjoy leading people to their deaths, so I would recommend you save your pity. I did the shading and rendering just like I have been doing all the while experimenting with my new style like I have been. I won't really talk about it here because I go way more in depth about it in my other video, my speed paint of my original character Cadence Donovan from my original story Stella Arcana. If you want to watch that, I'll link it in the description. I just don't want to bog you down with details I've already stated and just information that's already available. And obviously, as I'm going through all of my shading and rendering, I am color dropping colors from my randomly generated palette and splashing them across the piece. As previously mentioned, I wasn't restricting myself only to the colors that were generated for me, so I was able to pick a couple more that I liked, or values that I thought was missing from the colors that I was given. I did this in places like the skin, of course, but more importantly, I added in a dark blue and a desaturated purple. I did this specifically because I felt colors like that were missing from the color palette I was given. None of my colors were really that dark, and most of them were very highly saturated, so I thought that these two additions really helped contrast things and make pieces pop out in certain places. From here, it's pretty much just shading and rendering until the finish. Finally, I scribbled in a pretty passable underwater background and shaded the character accordingly. I gave her glowing eyes just to kind of highlight that eerie look, and with that, the piece was finished. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you have a name for my OC, please comment it down below and I will take a look. Please consider liking and subscribing, it really helps out the channel, and I will see you in the next one.